This tank is the FV3805. This is a British Tier 9 SPG. The map is Fjords. I am going to show you a SPG position that you can play on this map. Now, because I'm loaded, I'm not at the position that I want to play yet, but I want to be prepared to fire. I've got 48 rounds, so I can afford to be a little bit liberal firing my gun. Waited maybe a little bit too long to fire, but it looks like I still got some damage in. Did 232 damage. It's very dangerous to play here in the A6 area. However, my allies control the north. And if your allies control the north, then obviously it's safe. Oh, that's so nice. Was able to get spotting damage on those two tanks. I do kind of like playing this tank. The British SPGs are kind of okay. They're not the worst. The Russians are very difficult to play. The Germans are somewhat difficult. The French are always good. The Americans are kind of good. I do have to be careful because I'm competing with my allies over here. I might hit my allies. My allies have to get very close to the enemy in order to spot them. And my allies will be taking the enemy out of the game. So there's a lot of issues with firing. There's a very small area to fire into. A lot of things can go wrong. You can see that there's a danger with me shooting into this area. It's safe for me to be in this position. I could probably advance further because my allies have good control of the north. Looks like I didn't do any damage on that shot. My allies are still getting close. If I have to, I'm going to just stun the enemy to keep the splash damage away from my allies. You can see it's going to be very difficult. Probably not going to make that shot. Now these other tanks like this 50 TP, he's not really in a position where I'm going to be able to hit him. I could have gotten in a better position, but I failed to. I wasn't paying close enough attention to what was going on the map. But what I could have done is I could have moved to the B7 area, and I would have been able to hit some of those other tanks. Letting my allies know I'm going to take a shot at that 705A. With a little bit of luck, I might hit him. It looks like I was unable to. My shot did not arrive. Fjords is a difficult map. That's just a fact of the game. Score is 9-2. Trying to anticipate where the enemy SPG is. I don't think he's going to be here. I think he's going to be in a different position. Oh, there's an STRV. You can see that the SPG was in a different position. Unfortunately, it was a low damage game for me. But I was able to help my allies out in the south. Anything you can do to give your allies an edge in the south is good for the game. Took a wild shot, and that's the game. This tank is the Batchat 155-55. This is a French Tier 9 SPG, and the map is Ghost Town, which is also referred to as Lost City. I'm going to show you a position that you can use when you're playing SPG. I try to predict where I think the enemy is going to show up. There's a certain corridor on the angle in the F6 area. And I'm going to try to line up a shot over there. I'm going to have mixed success. You're definitely going to be able to do damage. But you're not going to have those amazing shots. In part because you're not going to see the enemy spotted throughout the game. So I missed that shot. Actually, I'm sorry, I missed the audio cue. Now, this might have been the last game that I played before winning the TS5 tank destroyer in the mission marathon, based on what I'm putting in the chat, which I did win. And it is a beautiful tank. This does have 34 rounds left. There's a lot of rounds in the game. And this is a standard battle. You can see that my allies are not advancing through the town. Got 337 damage on the AMX-30B. Those TVPs, those are really tough tanks. You want to take them out of the game. So if I get 6 more damage, I win the TS5 Tier 8. I'm sorry, if I get 33 hit points more damage, then I win the Tier 8 American tank destroyer, which I believe is called the TS5. I've only played maybe 1 or 2 games in it so far. Okay, now if you look on the mini-map, you can see that the AMX M451 and the Type 5 Heavy showed up. I do have another replay where I'm able to hit those tanks with another tank. I don't remember which one it was, because the other tank had a higher gun arc. But as you can see with this one, it's a little bit more difficult for me to line up a shot on those tanks. I must have hit that tank. So I'm going further south. I'm going to continue to try to line up a shot on the AMX and the Type 5 Heavy. You can see that with this SPG, it's very difficult. However, with other SPGs, it's definitely possible. I've done it with other SPGs. And what I remember is that going further south did not give me an advantage. I kept on going south, and it was really difficult to line up a shot. See how difficult it is. Gonna just barely miss that building. Got 100 damage on the Type 5 Heavy. Always want to be as far against the red line as possible. Now you can see, look at where I am on the mini-map. You can see I've got a clear shot on this area where a lot of enemy heavy tanks like to line up. Score is 3-5. It's too bad I lost sight of that tank. And unfortunately my shot never arrived. I'm reporting to everyone that I hit the TVP. Mon Dieu. I got stun damage on the AMX M451. Okay, so now the Type 5 Heavy is moving out of position for me to hit him. Zutalors. Score is 3-8. We're not having a good game here. Can't shoot under the buildings, unfortunately. Used to be able to, but I don't think it was that long ago they removed that ability, and I was taken out of the game. It was only a matter of time. This tank is the FV3805. This is a British Tier 9 SPG. The map is Serene Coast. I do like playing this tank. You can have good games on this map, but the problem with this map is that the enemy can advance very quickly and get very close to you. So you do have to be very, careful. I think I'm going to be lucky in that the enemy is going to be very close to me, but they're not going to spot me for a good duration of the game. There's a lot of enemy tanks over there on the west side that I should be shooting at right now. Look at that. That's what you call an Artie's wet dream. Unfortunately, I was a little bit too slow. Okay, so I got stun damage on the Centurion, and I hit the T-54. Definitely want to keep shooting up in that area. Always want to hit for the tank in the middle or aim between tanks. So the reason why I switched to the T-54 is because if I overshot, I had a chance of hitting the Skoda T-50, and if I undershot, I had a chance of hitting the Centurions. So always go for those middle tanks. Got 448 damage and 995 stun damage. Okay, so let's see what's going on. And the score is 7-1. I definitely had an influence. Not a lot of damage, but the stun makes a difference. It makes it so that the enemy takes a lot longer to reload, which means they can't fire their gun, which gives your team an advantage. And if your teammates are smart, they're going to go in while the enemy's stunned because there's a good chance that they're not reloaded. They won't be able to aim properly. So I did take a tank out of the game. Doesn't show how much damage I did. The enemy won on my side. So now I got an issue where I want to spot those guys. However, there's a good likelihood that they're going to return to their base. I want to hit that guy, but at the same time, I don't want to get spotted. Oh, I didn't fire. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of damage. You know, I'm not that lucky of a person. Okay, well, I guess I did do a lot of damage. So that was 212 damage on the T110E4. I got 660 damage, 995 stun damage. That's been reported in game. Plus, I got the damage on the tank that I destroyed. You see that the enemy spotted me and decided to take a shot at me. But he's not going to last too long. And once these tanks get into that area, it's going to be very hard for me to take a shot on them. So my opportunity to go after them is going to diminish as the game progresses. Score is 12-4. My allies are going to get closer. It's going to be a lot riskier. Need to reload as fast as possible. You can see that it's very risky for me to take a shot. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay. So I didn't do any damage to my ally, but I did stun him. That was 1,100 damage and 1,700 stun damage. Let's move on. This tank is a GW Tiger. This is a German Tier 9 SPG. The map is Paris. Not a big fan of this tank. I am going to show you an SPG position. You know, most people want to play in the field. Look at where my ally is at the A0 area. That's a good position to play. I want to find a better position. For some reason, it looks like I'm not in the game. Okay, my ping time is 700, 800, 900. So it looks like I'm having a little bit of trouble. That's one of the reasons why I play SPGs. If you have a high ping time, you're not going to suddenly explode. But one of the things I like to do is try to find an ideal position where you can hit lots of flanks This is a very slow tank, not that fun to play. Trying to see if there's a way I can help my team in town. I've tried a bunch of different positions. There's actually some positions where you can hit, for example, where that IS-7 is, or up here on the bridge. And they don't expect to be hit by SPGs when they play up there on the bridge. So you can see I was able to hit him for 240 damage, and I also got 391 stun damage. And of course, he's smart enough to stay in that position. Where he's going to be spotted. Well, he's also spotting my allies. Looks like I didn't do any damage on that second shot. So I've been trying to line up shots on those heavy tanks. I'm going to say it's very difficult. I haven't had a lot of great success. There's a difference. Some tanks have a high arc and some have a low arc. And having a high arc is an advantage in the game. Let's see if I can hit that IS-7. Was able to hit him for 96 damage. I know I'm not going to have a lot of success against him. You used to be able to shoot under bridges, but I think the feature is no longer available. Okay, so that was 146 damage on the Jagdpanzer and 505 damage on the IS-7. And 409 stun on the Jagdpanzer, and 366 stun on the IS-7. If he reverses, I'm going to be able to hit him within the realm of possibility. I'm actually having a decent game. I would have taken him out of the game. 1,000 damage, 1,100 stun damage. This is actually pretty typical. When you play on a city map, you're going to do about half the damage as you do on an open field map. So don't give up. You know, there's a lot of SPG players that get into a city map and then they kill themselves. Not the smart thing to do. And if you're going to kill yourself, you know, do it kamikaze style. Don't do it suiciding. Took that tank out of the game. Scores 11-2. The remaining damage is probably going to be out here in the field. Got one more tank I might be able to do damage to. And that'll probably be it for me. Okay, he's out of the game. It's 2 kills. 1,200 damage, 1,200 stun damage. Unlikely to do anything else in this game. And that's the game. This tank is the M53/M55. I believe it's an American Tier 9 SPG. Yeah, it's American. The map is Erlenberg. The American SPGs, I think they're pretty fun to play. The German ones can be a real pain. And the Russian ones can kind of be a pain. So when I play this, we're in assault mode. We're on the map Erlenberg. The strategy that I like to play is I like to line up a shot where I can shoot through the buildings in the middle of the map. You have to kind of be able to predict where you think the enemy is going to go. That was 460 damage on the T-34-1. So where the T-30 is, I need to position myself so I can hit down that row, and it's a curve, so you have to kind of anticipate how far do you think the enemy is going to go. And if you get in the right position, you're going to get a lot of hits. If not, you really have to move. You can see that my ally is an S-51. He's got a slow tank with a very narrow arc. There's an enemy tank. I'm marking the spot so my allies can see where he is. And I fired a shot, which could be a wasted shot. Now, a lot of the shots that I make in this area could completely miss because there's going to be buildings in the way. That's one of the things that's difficult about the game is having to shoot through buildings. The good thing is you can hit a lot of tanks if you get in the right spot. That was 170 damage on the T-30, which is a wonderful hit. You really want to lower the hit points of that T-30. It's going to help out my team a lot because he's obviously got a very powerful gun. So we took one of the enemy's big guns out of the game. You can see here it's very easy to hit 3 tanks at the same time. Unfortunately, they were able to spread out. I got to decide if I'm going to aim between the two. You want to get that 2-for-1. Looks like I did damage to one. I got 471 damage with 400 stun damage. And I did stun the other tank, even though it had no impact on the game. When you stun an enemy tank, it's going to impact his reload time and his ability to aim. So there is an advantage. The score is 7-1. I got 1,100 damage and 465 stun damage. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do any more shots on that tank. I don't think I'm going to get a clear shot in this area on this Leo. It's going to be really difficult. Only through a little bit of luck. Hopefully I'll hit this guy. Yeah, you can see my shot never arrived, so I must have hit a building between the two of us. It's always sad when that happens. Score is 10-2. Got an enemy SPG. We're going to take him out of the game, I hope. So this turned out to be a pretty good position. When you play on a city map, you know, expect to do about half the damage that you would do if you're on an open field map like Malinovka or Prokhorovka. The Udis is probably going to make it difficult for me to hit him for various reasons. He is lightly armored. I could definitely do a lot of damage, and that's the game. This tank is the FV3805. This is a British Tier 9 SPG. The map is Karelia. I am going to show you an SPG position that you can play on this map. So it looks like what I'm doing is I'm looking for probably a central position. We've got the Object 261, the GW Tiger. We're all basically in the same spot. Having a central position means that you can cover multiple flanks at the same time. Oh, that's beautiful. That's where you want to shoot. You don't want to be this close to your allies. If one of you gets spotted, you're all going to get nailed. So you want to make sure that you're far enough away. That's why I'm moving away from my allies. And I'm starting to aim when I have around 10 seconds left. Usually when I get down to like 12 seconds is when I go into an aiming position, so that by the time I'm reloaded, I'm ready to fire. I don't know why there was no sound effect there. So I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure that I start aiming when I've got around 10 seconds left. Oh, this is great. This is absolutely what I want to see. Okay, so I did around 410 damage. Plus I got 280 stun damage. I'm up to over 1,000 stun damage and 800 regular damage. One of the issues with a tank like the T95, you want to hit those tanks, but unless you really get a perfect shot on the rear, you're just not going to do a lot of damage. That's one of those tanks that you might not do any damage to. Tried to predict where the Emil was headed, and fortunately I was able to get a good shot in. I got up to 1,100 damage, 1,700 tracking, and 1,000 stun damage. This looks like it's actually a pretty good game numbers-wise. You can hit right over that rock. You can see I nailed him on the side. There was no splash, which indicates it was a hit. So we do have a threat. You want to always go for the immediate threat if you can help your allies out. We've got this AMX 50B that's coming up the center. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a clear shot on him. That FV215B, you don't have to kill him, but at least get his hit points down so that he's a lot riskier. And he'll be easier for my allies to kill. So we got his hit points down by half, me and my ally. See if we can hit this Lanson. Probably going to miss my shot on him. Trying to predict where he's going to go. It's doubtful that he's going to show up there. You can see that the enemy SPG was spotted up on that upper level. And he's one of the few tanks that I can actually fire at. I was a little bit too slow to react. He could have been taken out of the game by now. And he is a slow tank, so it's going to be difficult for him to do anything about it. And a lot of SPGs do not have Sixth Sense. He is a Tier 9 tank, so there is a good chance that he does have Sixth Sense, but you never know. A lot of SPGs don't react when you spot them. I got 1780 damage, 1740 tracking damage, and 1000 stun damage. Fortunately, that shot was a little too short. They've only got 5 minutes left in the game. So you can see from here I can pretty much hit in any direction. Makes it very flexible. And I'm not going to say that this is the best position. I got 232 on the T95. There's other positions that you can play. I would rather be somewhere else. You can see my ally died over here. I'd rather be somewhere else, but you know, I've got other allies on the team like the Object 261, and we have to all share the space together. So that means I might not get the ideal position. Got over 2,000 damage. We're doing pretty good. We've only got 4 minutes left in the game. Yeah, he's lucky he moved. Oh, maybe not so much. I'm sure that's not going to do much damage to him. He's got 3 minutes left. When you're playing an SPG and you're on a map like Karelia and time is running out, there comes a point where you have to consider running away and hiding. So make sure that you are prepared to do that if necessary. The last thing you want to do is die just as the game ends and then end up losing the game. So I missed my chance on that AMX 50B. Trying to anticipate where I think he's going to show up. 2.5 minutes left in the game. So now we can see that we're on the west side in the south. We don't have any enemy tanks. So if I decide to run, that's where I'm going to run to. Remember, if you win the game, you get a lot more EXP. So it's worth it to win the game, even if you don't do that final damage. The score is 10-9. Still have to be concerned. There's 2 minutes left in the game. We could still die. There's one enemy tank that has not been spotted yet. Unfortunately, I can't help my team with that AMX 50B. Okay, so the AMX M451 just appeared. There's still 2 enemy arties in the game, so there's a chance I could die. I gotta run. I gotta take that shot and run. Taking way too long to take that shot. Gotta get out of there. Don't want the enemy SPG to take a shot at me. Scores 10-11. There's a minute left in the game. Gotta stay alive. The priority is to stay alive. There's no way those tanks are going to take us out. They're too slow. and they're not playing very aggressively. Unfortunately, I lost the position for where that enemy tank is. Might be able to take him out of the game. Okay, so he's out of the game. Now remember, with that ellipse, your shot's going to land somewhere within that ellipse. Scores 12 to 12. Very important, again, to stay alive. I could easily be one shot by the enemy artillery. And because I was spotted, they do know, in general, the general area that I'm in. 15 seconds left. The enemy artillery is fast. They should have come to cap, but they were too late. And it looks like that's the game.